North Korea is set to carry out a key parliamentary meeting today. Now, this is one of the regime's biggest events of the new year as the meeting overlooks policy tasks and state budget issues for 2023. For more, we're joined by Jacco Zwetsloot. He's the host of the NK News podcast. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Sure. Welcome to the program. I really hate to say this, but North Korea has been rather quiet in terms of provocations since their drone intrusion into Seoul last month and also the New Year's missile launch. What do you think the North has been up to lately?
Well, I don't think that Kim Jong-un wakes up every morning wondering how he can annoy or provoke people in South Korea. That said, it does seem likely that there will be some kind of large military parade coming up soon because satellite photographs have shown that military equipment has been mobilized around the medium training ground near Pyongyang. And that could be for the February 8th 75th anniversary of the founding of the Korean People's Army. North Korea actually has two different dates that it celebrates for the founding of the army, and one of them is February the 8th, so there could be a big parade there. Apart from that, on New Year's Day, a lot of people in North Korea traveled to statues of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il to lay flowers at the feet of those statues. That was reported by North Korean state media. And it was also reported that factories and power stations had not only fulfilled, but exceeded their daily production quotas.
Well, personally, I'm taking the silence as a good sign for now, but North Korea is also set to hold a key parliamentary meeting today, the Supreme People's Assembly. This is when the regime discusses policy tasks and state budget issues for the new year. What is expected to top the agenda this year?
Yeah, as you say, it's possible the Supreme People's Assembly will meet today. Now, it's possible that Kim Jong-un may give a speech, but given that this comes only 3 weeks after their big end-of-year Korean Workers' Party plenum that they had just before New Year's Day, I don't think that there'll be too much that's new that wasn't already covered in that plenum. And that plenum specifically mentioned 12 different policy goals that they wanted to accomplish by the end of this year. And those goals focus on mainly economic issues and trying to raise the standard of living in Korea. They're quite familiar goals. We've probably heard things before, an emphasis on things like agriculture, fertilizer and fishing. And they had a big rally in the May 1st Stadium early this year, showing off the new slogans and posters to trumpet those goals. And those goals, we don't yet know any specific details, so they may be coming out of the Supreme People's Assembly meeting. But also science and technology have been put forward as major drivers of the economy this year. And then they will, of course, talk about expanding North Korea's defense, specifically their nuclear armament. And they mentioned at the plenum that there's two goals now. The primary goal is a defense mechanism, and then the secondary goal of the nuclear program is a retaliatory strike, which it says will not be a defense.
Right. And mind you, the next question really heavily depends on the attendance of the leader, Kim Jong-un. In the past, Kim has used the annual meeting as an opportunity to send messages to Seoul and Washington. Because I remember back in 2021, Kim expressed a willingness to restore the then cut off inter-Korean communication lines at the meeting. Now, can we expect something like that, a meaningful message this time?
I must say I'm not very hopeful at this time. I don't see any sign yet that Pyongyang is particularly interested in engaging with the rest of the world. In fact, just recently, Russian media reported rumors that the Russian embassy in Pyongyang may close its doors because the diplomats who've been stuck there for 3 years since North Korea went into the self-imposed COVID lockdown early in 2020 want to go back home. Now, that's just one sign, but it's a sign among many that North Korea isn't particularly interested in engaging the world. Often, Kim Jong-un sends messages in a non-verbal way, and so I expect that this year, maybe not this week, but certainly this year, there'll be more missile tests. perhaps some missiles that use the brand new solid fuel motor that was tested recently, and maybe even a seventh nuclear test. So I really fear that we may be entering a time when the two Koreas are not talking to each other, but that they keep raising the tension up through tit-for-tat drone flights or matching a missile launch with a competing missile launch. And that carries the risk that by raising it up, it's very hard to de-escalate it, which could lead to a mistake or a miscalculation. Now, I hope I'm wrong, because I live here in Korea. I'm not just watching the Korean Peninsula from a far-off place, so I hope that cooler heads will prevail on both sides of the demilitarized zone, and that good advice will be taken.
I hope you're wrong too, but if the meeting is being carried out at the moment, I'm sure we'll have some updates by tomorrow morning, right?
I would imagine so, yes. So
right.
keep watching the news.
Right. All right. Thank you for your insight this morning.
Thank you for having me.